Shonen Jump isn't something you'd usually associate with mecha, and in all honesty, the mecha pickings within the magazine are quite slim. But over the course of the last few years of me researching the magazine, a few series have caught my eye, and today I want to talk about them briefly, as well as some other tidbits of info that fit this mecha theme. As a disclaimer, we're only talking about the main weekly Shonen Jump magazine here, so anything in Jump Plus or another magazine won't show up. First and foremost, one of Jump's biggest and most important links to mecha is with Mazinger Z by Go Nagai. Though it's more famous for its anime, the manga's original run began in Shonen Jump in 1972, running for a total of 44 chapters. I touched on it in one of my first history videos, but Mazinger Z follows Koji Kabuto, who inherits the super robot Mazinger Z from his late grandfather. With it, he faces off against the forces of Dr. Hell, which include Baron Ashura, as well as a whole host of mechanical monsters. Mazinger Z's publication history is a bit wonky, with it moving from Shonen Jump to Kodansha's TV magazine, with later volume releases being all over the place in terms of content. Mazinger Z would get plenty of sequels and spin-offs in manga and anime, becoming one of the larger Super Robot franchises, with it often appearing in games like the Super Robot Wars series. Perhaps its most influential feature though is that it was the series to set the trend of putting the pilot inside the mech's cockpit, something that would greatly shape the future of the mecha genre. It makes me happy that something so important to mecha began in my favorite manga magazine. Okay, so why did I put the Burning or God Gundam on the thumbnail? G Gundam does have a manga, but it was never serialized within Jump, and a part of my reasoning for putting it on the thumbnail is because the Burning and the Shining Gundam are one of my favorite mobile suits, but I swear there is a solid link to Jump. Yasuhiro Imagawa, G Gundam's director, has stated that Ring the Kakero as well as Saint Seiya was an influence on the anime, and I think by comparing the two, this tracks. G Gundam taps into the over-the-top shonen spirit presented in Ring the Kakero and copies its depiction of stereotyping countries to a degree. While some nitpick this, I think it's pretty harmless and cute for the most part in G Gundam's case, but it's interesting to see where it got this idea from. Shining Gundam's Golden Super Mode was also inspired by another Masumi Kurumada manga in Saint Seiya, which is also very cool. Kurumada's works were very pivotal in shaping what we consider shonen battle manga today, and were incredibly influential even though they aren't mentioned as much in the West, especially Ring the Kakero. While you can fully read Saint Seiya officially on the Shonen Jump app, the same can't be said for Ring the Kakero, although a fan translation exists up to a certain point, and it does have an anime adaptation. I definitely recommend seeking it out if you're a fan of shonen manga and want to experience a piece of history, as well as checking out G Gundam if you're a Shonen Jump fan. You'll have a blast with it as it combines a lot of what's good about Gundam with shonen battle elements and remains one of my favorite Gundam series to this day. That's not all for Gundam references in Jump, as we have a few smaller notable ones. Firstly is Akira Toriyama's depiction of Char's Zaku in Dr.Slump. It's a blink and you miss it sort of thing, but I was so happy to see this while reading the manga. It makes a lot of sense as he often illustrates other big pop culture icons at the time, including Godzilla, Gamera, and Ultraman. He also drew this little super deformed Gundam, predating the SD era stuff, which is pretty cute and goofy. Some more modern Jump references to Gundam can be found in Yoshifumi Tozuka's Undead Unluck. Tozuka is a massive Gundam fan, with there being some very clear visual nods to the various series, one of which is in Juez's helmet, which looks very close to Zek's marquise from Gundam Wing. The many artifacts of Undead Unluck usually include some sneaky references too, Blade Runner being a very obvious one referencing the movie of the same name, but a more recent one and relevant to this video is in chapter 188, which references Silent Voice, the second opening of Double Zeta Gundam, which is a banger. I'd play some, but copyright and all that, so I'll leave a link to the song down below if you'd like to listen to it. Andy's old friends from his flashback are also named after characters from the OVA Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS team, as well as characters that are references to Camille Bidan and Judo Ashita, the protagonists of Zeta and Double Zeta Gundam. Rip's caretaker is also modeled after Haman Khan. There's a gag in chapter 21 that that references full armor, which many mobile suits get variants of, though it seems to have been a little lost in translation for the English version. In chapter 147, Baroja is mentioned, which is an anagram of Jiburo. We also get to see some wounded soldiers who look suspiciously like Apolly and Roberto. Billy at one point says a line similar to an iconic Char line, and Bunny's suit is named after the Pikilenta poles from SD Gundam Genesis. Credit to David Evelyn for the vast majority of these, the English translator of Undead Unluck, who I initially got a lot of these tidbits from, but I reached out and they helped provide even more examples of Gundam references from the series. Honestly, go follow them if you love Undead Unluck. They're so passionate about manga and give great insight into the translation process. There's probably a few more I haven't mentioned, but I hope this goes to show just how much Tozuka loves Gundam, and if that wasn't enough, he also mentions Gundam a lot in his author notes. I really hope there's the possibility he comes back after Undead Unluck and starts a mecha series in Jump. Okay, so this one isn't very deep, but Frankie has pretty surface level mecha ties, being a cyborg who builds all sorts of robots. The general Frankie being a literal mecha with some design similarities to Gundam and older super robot shows in its designs. Oda has apparently gone on record to say that he'd like to make a mecha manga once One Piece has ended, although he's also gone on to further state that he's drawn what he wanted to around the subject already. Also, I'm not sure where this originates from, but Oda has done his own rendition of a Zaku, as well as little doodles of all these other smaller mobile suits. If we ever do get another manga from him, or even a one-shot, I really hope he does return to some kind of mecha idea, because I love all of his mecha designs. Most people are familiar with Hiroyuki Takei's Shaman King, but what if I told you he also serialized a mecha manga in Shonen Jump, Juuki Ningen Jumbor, or Jumbor Barotronica? Lasting 10 chapters in 2007, Jumbor would be set in a post-apocalyptic future where teams of construction workers and their mecha rebuild the world. There are some really cool looking construction mechs, and while they are used for combat, sadly the main character kind of becomes a human-robot hybrid, with it pivoting to these kind of characters and fights more and more over its short run. It did end up getting a reboot running in Ultra Jump, but that has either since been discontinued or is on an indefinite hiatus. Still, as I mentioned, the construction robots in the original look really cool and are definitely mecha. In my recent history video going over Jump's history in 1983, I covered Mecha Battler Gilfer, sadly another short series that only lasted 2 volumes and 13 chapters. It followed Gilfer, a man wishing to clone his dead wife to get her back. To learn how to and presumably get enough money, he engages in mecha battles, transferring his own consciousness into a mech called the Zeus Box. The story seems to deal with themes of transhumanism, but more relevant to this video, it's a mecha battling manga, making it one of Jump's forgotten mecha manga. Another older and lesser known mecha series in Jump is Mecharyu Varyion by Yoshihiro Kuroiwa that lasted only 11 chapters. The story would see a boy named Ryuki inherit the Varyion from his father, a super robot that uses water to function. With it, he'd fight the mysterious evil organization Halloween. The Varyion also had some cool features, including dragon-like wings and a tail that turned into a sword. I loved the artwork done by Kuroiwa for this series, and it's such a shame it was cancelled so quickly. Yude Tamago, the duo behind Kinnikuman, would try a number of series after initially ending their big hit. One of them was the robot-focused Scrap Sandayu. Santaro Sugito was a great practitioner of judo during the Meiji era, but had no way of passing down his teachings. Instead, he sealed his techniques into his judo uniform and placed them into a bucket. Decades later, that bucket would become the head of Sandayu, a police officer made from scrap who inherits the old judo techniques of Santaro. It's a wacky premise and seems close to Kinnikuman in having gag-focused fights, with Warsman from Kinnikuman even appearing later on under the name Battleman, with that being one of the things this manga is most known for. It gets weirder though, with some characters being references to Michael Jackson and Mike Tyson, and one fight including a robot with a massive dong. As an onlooker with no way to read this, it's positively fascinating and silly. I couldn't resist bringing it up even if it's not exactly mecha. Created by Yusaku Shibata and lasting 17 chapters beginning at the end of 2019, Zipman follows Kaname and Koshiro Tatora, two brothers with very different personalities. Kaname wants to be a hero like his idol Jackman, while his brother takes a completely different route as an engineer who creates a wearable suit that his brother comes to eventually pilot. Not exactly a mech, but he does go on to fight some very large robots piloted by others, so it kinda counts, right? Overall, it's a very weird series that didn't do very well, and honestly, I just wanted a more modern example for mecha manga in Jump, since there really hasn't been many, so I thought I'd at least bring this one up. I also might talk about Zipman more in depth in the future in an X-Files video if people are interested. And that's the majority of the mecha related manga and info that you can find within Shonen Jump. I'm sure I've missed some gags referencing Gundam or other mecha, and I didn't count a few robot centric series here as I didn't want this video to be very long or tackle what is and isn't classified as mecha. I appreciate if you stuck around until now. This was my really weird attempt at combining two of my favorite things together, so hopefully it was enjoyable at least. If you're interested in Gundam, I have a few videos on it on my channel, and I would like to make more in the future, but if you'd like to know where to start with the franchise, you can check out my How to Start Gundam video. And if you're new to Shonen Jump, I have a variety of videos on my channel covering the magazine, its history, Act series, and so much more which you can delve into. Make sure to subscribe too for all sorts of fun videos like this one and a ton more I have planned in the future. As always, thank you so much for watching, remember to be kind and take care.